How are you?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Doing good. Can you hear me okay?
I definitely can.
Excellent, excellent. So I was saying to everybody, we got some breaking news that came out of the ACC today, and I figured I would just come on here really quick and we'll take some questions. Folks are joining us as we speak, and it's going to be an interesting conversation here, probably for the next 25, 30 minutes. I did not expect to be having this conversation today. And I know, Ben, that we both were expecting this to be sometime next week.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all the sources were saying next week, so came as a big shock.
But so is the ACC, right? Any news is good news nowadays when it comes to talking football.
Yes.
So I guess before we get started, I'd like to introduce Ben Walters. He's the newest addition to Shakedown the Thunder Sports, one of our new writers. Ben, just introduce yourself, and then we'll kick this off.
I'm a lifelong Notre Dame fan. I live in the great state of Illinois, and I'm looking forward to joining forces with George at Shakedown the Thunder Sports.
Well, it's great to have you on board, Ben. We have an interesting past, but we'll save that for a different day. It's actually a great story. It's like everything else out of Notre Dame. Two people come together that never would have met, and our paths actually crossed a couple of years ago when we both didn't even know each other. And here we are today. And we're talking on a new podcast by Shakedown the Thunder Sports. So first, I think let me just go into some of the quick details that were released today. The season will take place week of September 7th through the 12th. The 2020 schedule is going to include 11 games, 10 conference plus one non-conference game. And this is for ACC wide, okay? So this is just not Notre Dame related. So all non-conference game opponents will be selected by the respective school and must be played in the home state of the ACC institution. Pretty strict rule. 11 games, they will be played over 13 weeks. The news coming out of this is that Notre Dame will play a 10 conference game schedule. And let's see here, and will be able to compete for the ACC championship. Let's stop the brakes. Ben, I'll let you have the floor.
It's absolutely incredible. It is a situation where everything was pointing towards this. There was speculation with other conferences, the Big 12 was kind of be thrown around a little bit, but not to say like I totally knew it, but I knew kind of deep down that we would be joining up in the ACC. When the commissioner came out and said, we will do everything in our power to help Notre Dame in their current independent situation with this whole craziness that is COVID, I knew that it would only be a matter of time until Notre Dame jumped in. I didn't know if it was going to be a thing that we were going to be eligible to play in the championship. So that's interesting.
Yep. So based upon our conversation earlier today, right? Notre Dame has everything right now in their favor.
Yes.
They have a schedule. Well, they have games. They have a conference they're going to play in, and they have a chance to earn their way into the ACC championship game.
Yes.
So when the stars align, I know down there in November we could be possibly playing Clemson twice in 1 month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's that for irony?
Crazy.
Everyone talks about 2020 and what's it going to throw at us next.
Yeah.
This goes right with it.
Yeah.
But there were some concessions that were made, I believe, by the university. I was looking through here, and I thought I saw something about revenue being shared amongst the teams.
Yeah.
So
I hadn't seen that, but I assumed that it would be something like that.
All television revenue for the 2020 season, including Notre Dame's home games broadcast by NBC, will be shared by all 15 institutions. In the end, right? Small price to pay for being able to play a schedule.
Yes. I
And
mean,
it's well worth it.
It's to be expected, I guess is the best way to put it. I couldn't see Notre Dame getting out of it at all. So
yeah. So no, this is a very good thing for Notre Dame today. This is a great day for the fans, because the one thing that everyone's been talking about is is football going to play?
Right.
And this kind of gives you that jump start into that thought process. Son of a gun, guess what? There's going to be a season.
Yeah.
At least the attempt to start a season. So really quick, let's talk about the home games. Schedules are to be determined, of course. There's no dates. All this stuff is really preliminary, what's going on. We all knew Clemson at home, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, and Syracuse. By the way, I got the Louisville pronounced correctly, by the way. It's not Louisville, as most people call it.
You actually pronounced it correctly.
Yes, sir. When you visited Louisville and you get beat on by the locals, you learn to pronounce it really quick.
Yeah. I spent a year and a half in Kentucky, so.
Yep. Yeah. So the road games will be Boston College, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Pitt, and Wake Forest. So some of those games were still games that were road trips. Notre Dame had planned to play, I believe, Georgia Tech, right?
Yes.
On the road. So that's not a surprise there. No. Now it's just a matter of where's the game going to be played. They were playing Pitt on the road already.
Yeah.
So there's no surprise there. So the road schedules, there's really nothing there as a surprise. It's just going to be a shakeup in the schedule.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. The blessing is that, and I won't say a ton because of the article that's coming, but to me, the home is more favorable than the away. And what I mean by that is a lot of the more worrisome teams on my upset alert radar were playing at home. So
well, that's already out there too.
Yeah.
I was in there reading some of the stuff on the ACC page, and people are already saying, "Oh, look at Notre Dame; they're playing in the bottom feeders on the road." So, but the schedule, I'm sure, wasn't Notre Dame's choice. I'm sure there was something was put together. I mean, it's what the team was handed.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I mean, there's only a few teams in the ACC right now that are super dominant and super good. I mean, Clemson's the number one. So, I mean, everybody else is going to be a little bit lower than Clemson. So.
Well, and maybe it's a fact that now everyone's running scared. I think, this is going to give Notre Dame a great chance to really play some good football this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's setting up for some interesting moments in games too. We're playing Boston College on the road. I mean,
that never works out well.
And I mean, we're playing Pitt on the road too. I mean,
we're playing Pitt. That game was supposed to be scheduled for Heinz Stadium, by the way.
Yeah.
Originally.
I mean, it's a road game, but I mean, come on, Pitt has home field advantage.
The Irish will travel. I mean,
right.
It's not too far from Connecticut. It's not too far from Ohio. Right. So, I mean, the Irish faithful are going to travel.
Yeah. I mean, but Pitt is one of those teams that every time we play them makes me nervous. I mean, the last time we played them, it took us everything we had to beat them. They play us well. So, They can say, oh, well, it's a bottom feeder school, but
it's really not. I mean, let's come on, folks. We're playing football. We're tentatively playing football.
Right. And that kind of stuff irritates me because it's like, okay, Alabama plays FCS schools in the beginning of the season. So, I mean, what? You're going to, like, what do you want? I mean, it's how it goes. Not everybody gets to be as good as Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State. They don't get to be in that realm. I'm sorry. So it is what it is.
It'll be an interesting process. I mean, I think that, I guess it's a typical threat, right? Everyone always talks big about Notre Dame. Now they have a chance. They have a stage.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not just going out there to play. No, you're playing 12 games. You're playing 11 games, right? And you have this goal at the end now. Now it's not to see how we can qualify. If you can go out and win the ACC championship,
right,
you probably get that berth because you've had to go through Clemson. And if you have to play Clemson twice, and even if they lose to them the first time,
you get a redemption game.
But you got to make sure that you win the right game. You got to win the rest. It's like everything else. Every game is just as important as the rest.
Yes.
Now you have to pursue.
Right. Yeah. And it's, to me, it's a situation where I'm not saying I want it to happen, but when you have a chance to play in a title game, you can have a hiccup along the way and make it up in the title game. I mean, there have been many teams that have one loss or even two losses that go into the title game, win the title game, or not only win the title game, but dominate in the title game and then ascend to either the play. At the time it was BCS, but now it's playoffs. But It would be playoffs, So, I mean, I'm not saying, like I said, I don't want a hiccup. But if you were to lose to Clemson once or to Pitt, on the road or something, then you go into that title game, you qualify for it, you get in. That's where you save yourself. Because in a normal year for Notre Dame, if they lose one game, they're done. They're out. There's no way they're going to make it. I mean, it's just how it goes.
Just sign the sign at the door. So
yeah.
Hey, does anybody out there have any questions? Put your questions into the stream feed, and myself and Benjamin can look at your questions. So now it's all going to become is staying healthy.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's a matter of going out there, getting your summer ball in, get the fall ball started, and you got to go play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I had a little discussion with you yesterday, but I was on the interview yesterday with Navy. We were invited as part of the media to do a interview with a couple of players and coach. And first of all, huge respect for all the academies. But these two guys, Guy Cameron and Miles. Cameron, who's a senior, I believe he's a cornerback. He was just elected class president of the Naval Academy for this year. That's huge.
Oh, yeah.
A football guy getting nominated and voted by his peers as president of the student affairs, I believe. That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, the Naval Academy is something special.
Yep. I mean, and I'm very glad that game's still on the schedule. It'll be upsetting to see, USC go by the wayside this year, and then that run that they've had with Notre Dame. The Stanford run with Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
But at least that Navy game's there. It's just weird that was the first game on the schedule of the season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate and it's sad, but this is one of those years where sacrifices have to be made, and it has to be an understandable situation where it just didn't pan out. It's not that it happened for lack of trying. It was, we physically can't do this. The whole, we can't play USC, we can't play UCLA, or not UCLA, Stanford. Sorry.
Yep.
Keep hoping we'd play UCLA. It's always in my head. I'm like, I really like to play UCLA. But yeah, it's not that they don't want to. It's not that it's just they can't. And it's, in my realm of work, there are certain things that we just can't do this year. So it is what it is. It's this year, and then next year things should be back to normal, and we will be good to go. So it is what it is.
And let me tell you what, they're hungry. Both guys, they know what it means to come in and play Notre Dame.
Yes.
And they're actually more up for the fact that it's going to be in Annapolis.
Yeah.
So they're really pumped. They have an opportunity once again, right?
Yes.
You've got this opportunity. Now you do something with it.
Yeah.
So I guess in the discussion yesterday, Coach had said they had just started doing their walkthroughs this week. So they're a couple weeks behind probably where Notre Dame is right now.
Uh-huh.
But being in shape is what the Navy's all about, right?
I was going to say those guys.
in the discipline.
Yeah.
So they're going to be ready to go, and they're hungry. You can just hear the excitement in their voice as they were talking.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be a lot. That game, I would assume we're going to have it. I mean, is it officially confirmed that we're going to have it?
There's been nothing saying. Nothing saying it's not going to happen. And Navy is, and as Coach said yesterday, the Navy coach said yesterday that they are still preparing for Notre Dame.
Right.
They won't get caught by surprise.
I gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, I would assume that would be our non-conference game.
I think that's why things were structured the way they were.
So the fact that it's going to be in Annapolis is incredible, because we've never played a game in Annapolis. So that's huge. Now, granted, none of us can go. They've said, public is not allowed. But if the game happens. But the fact that it's going to happen in Annapolis is huge.
Yep.
And like you said, George, those guys are going to be hungry. I mean, you're home. You're in your home. You've never been here before.
Against Notre Dame.
So there you go. I mean, and that's why I'm a firm believer that you cannot take anybody lightly. And there are some schools that I don't like them, but I respect them as a program. And one of them is Alabama. And if you watch Alabama play football, they don't take anybody lightly. There is no, we're going to half-ass it today. There is, we're going and we're acting like we're playing the number one school in the country, and we're not going to, mess around. And you can't go easy on a team like Navy. You can't.
Hey, Gary brings up a good point. Overlook this. The ACC agreement says non-conference games are in-state only. So does that mean that game moves to Notre Dame?
If that is the rules, then yeah. I mean, it would have to. So,
thanks, Gary. Thanks for I totally overlooked that, and I even said it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so, and that's,
so stay tuned.
Right. So, yeah.
So if that's the case, that gives Notre Dame, I think, that would give Notre Dame
that'd be six
home games.
Home games, yeah.
Yep, 6
So it
home
would be
games.
5 and 5, and then the extra ones would be 6. Yeah. I mean, and people lose their gosh darn minds over that one, but
Yep.
whatever.
So really quick, I wanted, because Gary came in late, what I want to do is recap for him what the schedule looked like, and for those, I know a couple other folks joined in late too. So Gary, the Notre Dame schedule, and these are home games, and no dates have been set. And then I'll read the away games. The ACC games are Clemson, Duke, Florida State, Louisville, and Syracuse. Those are home games. Boston College, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Pitt, and Wake Forest on the road. TBD on the dates and times.
Right.
So, but this was a complete surprise. I did not see this coming today. I know that we were commiserating about an article, and I caught you off guard. you were quite surprised.
Yeah.
Because I had to read it twice myself, because it's like, you're not supposed to release this till next week.
Right. Yeah.
So Matthew Rose had a question for you. Had a question for us. I probably can answer the question a little bit better, but you can chime in too, Ben. He wants to know about the news on health or injuries of the players. I've heard nothing as far as injuries or, other than the 103, folks that were tested for COVID-19, and 103 negative results came back.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best health update that I know that they made public, was that one right there, man. So still more to come, as to what's going on. I know it's probably like contact. I'm not sure of all the rules for, that the CDC and the NCAA have worked out for these teams, but I'm sure there's some form of non-contact drills that are going on.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that stuff varies by state. So since Notre Dame's in Indiana has way different ways of going about things than, say, Michigan or Ohio or Illinois. Yep. So, like I know, like with my job, since I live in Illinois, they say like, well, if this happens, then this is what you're supposed to do. Well, that's not the same as, Indiana or Wisconsin or, so yeah, it's interesting. I think what the ACC has done, and we don't know about it yet, but what they've probably done is they've set their protocols. Like, this is how everything's going to go. And if this happens, then this is what you're all expected to do. So then every team in the ACC has the exact same guidelines and situation that they're doing and dealing with.
Did I surprise you with the little banner scroll on the bottom of the screen?
No, I get notifications all over my screens. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so that's what I think. But I don't know. I mean, of course, I'm not privy to any of that special information. But
I can tell you what some of the other discussion yesterday was. I had actually asked Coach Neum. I'm not going to say the rest of his last name. They all were calling Coach Neum. They were talking about. I asked him a question about the extra protection for the particulate spread. He said there's no good answer right now. They're looking at a whole bunch of different things. They don't know what's going to happen. They've looked at a whole bunch of other different details about the visor protection, and they've looked at this other stuff. When you think about what we're trying to talk about, players getting onto the field, right? As we talked on your guys' podcast, there's no social distancing in football.
No.
You're lined up side to side and nose to nose, and we've all seen the video of the air coming out of your face mask and stuff. Right. It's going to be an interesting play.
Yeah, it will be interesting. The NHL started up yesterday, and I mean, like, same situation. They're all over each other, and I mean, they're not wearing anything different. That's just normal, typical gear. So I don't know if the NCAA is going to go that route. I don't know if every team can afford to go that route. Notre Dame's budget is way different than Bowling Green's budget. I mean, so I don't know. But, I mean,
that'll be yet to be determined.
Right. If everybody is testing negative for COVID, then is there really a need for all that?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not a health expert, clearly.
Don't want to be one either, nor do I want to be an athletic director.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Yep. So, nope, it's good news. It feels good to talk about football. This is the most news that we've had, right, about football in months.
Yeah.
That can get you a little bit excited about what's going on. So,
yep.
Any more questions from those viewing online? We can put your comments into the screen there, and we can try and answer your question. By the way, I really love this software.
Good.
This is pretty darn awesome. Just stumbled upon it the other day. I was like, hey, this is what those folks were using when I did another show. And I was like, this is perfect. I love it. And it's simple. Because we know the last time we tried to communicate what happened.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to say is, folks, we got football news. Let's see what else comes out over the next couple of days.
Yep.
I was just looking about to see. I was just hoping to see. We were just talking about hoping just to see a schedule, and we'll take a pseudo schedule, and knowing that there's a chance to play for an ACC championship.
Yeah,
that'll be the news, and we'll see where it goes. It'll be good times. So, well, I think we can let's wrap it up. Any parting words, Ben?
No, just it's going to be fun and exciting, and it's a unique situation. So, my biggest thing is just take it as is and enjoy the ride.
Well, I personally want to thank you for coming on last minute, literally 15 minutes before I went online. I'm like, let me try and grab Ben because I knew you were supposed to have an engagement this evening, and then that fell through. So,
yeah,
once again, it kind of worked out, right? You got something to fill the slot. So, folks, I hope you like the feed. I hope you like the features that we had on running the podcast. When I finish this, I'll be able to finish the recording and the post. And the recording will go live to Facebook. So you can then go back and watch what you just see if you want to go back and look at some stuff. So, for now, hey, football's in the air. The chatter's coming already. It's good. And
it's fun.
It's fun. Let's keep the players safe. Let's hope they continue to be okay. Yeah. And we'll chat again. Until then, thanks for joining us, and go Irish.
Go Irish.
Good night, everybody.